So in order to see if it's true what they say that this kukri is the best kukri made on American soil, because we know across the pond in Nepal they make the best kukris in the world, and they originated there and they still make the best kukris anywhere. But here there's always been a lack of basically a very good kukri that would compete to those of the Eastern world. So in order to do so, I had to bring this thing through its paces. I wanted to give it a lot of activity. I did an outdoor nature ride to try and find many different types of mediums, a lot of fallen trees, cleaning up some shrubs, wooden vines, things that I can find along the way that I can cut to really bring this thing through its paces and give it as much activity as possible. And I definitely had fun doing it. Now, if you guys know me and know my channel, you know that how much I adore the geometric of the kukri. For me, I think in terms of a knife, the kukri geometric is probably the best looking, the best, most versatile, most useful type of geometric on a knife as far as I'm concerned. It's my favorite by far. 13 wonderful inches of 1095 Cro-Van steel. 1095 is being still my favorite steel on the planet, even all the super steels out there. The initial clean sharpness of this blade out of the box, like pretty much a lot of K-bars that I've received, was very, very impressive. You can see I'm going through some industrial material. You have the fire hose, and you have also the ratchet straps, which if you don't have a good sharp edge, it could be a little difficult to kind of cut through. So I even doubled up with it at a certain point, and it really went through everything very well. Yeah, the initial sharpness really impressed me the most when I opened this thing up. I was not expecting it to be as refined sharp as it was. It's a 20-degree bevel on the blade, but if you wanted to kind of refine that or retune it to make it like a 17 or an 18, something a little bit keener, by all means you can do so. But at 20, it's a nice balance of basically being able to go through hard materials but also being a very good slicer, as you can see. This is steel belted sandblast hose, what I pretty much use on pretty much most of my knife reviews, and actually it did really well. Now, considering I wasn't able, my hand is so far away from the cutting point, it actually did pretty well in terms of basically getting through the sandblast hose. That just shows you what a sharp edge it is right out of the box, but it cut through it pretty well. But why do we use sandblast hose and why do we cut into rubber tires? For many reasons. Again, it's steel belted material, so we want to try to put some more pressure on the edge to see if any damage can sustain from cutting through the steel. And if it doesn't, then it was heat tempered good. The edge is good. The edge cutting profile is good. And also to put a lot more stress on the grip to see if there's any hot spots or anything that feels funky in the hand when you're doing it. This kukri is the Becker Reinhardt kukri. It's been around for quite a while. This may be the last rendition because they may be discontinuing this pretty soon. So if you're interested in purchasing this and you want to own this, you may want to look into this pretty quick. They call this a labor of love. It's designed and perfected by Ethan Becker and Reinhardt Estate. It's made with the tried and true 1095 Cro-Van steel. It's got that beautiful epoxy powder coated finish. It's proudly embellished with Hank Reinhardt's signature and coupled with Becker's distinct handle shape. I am just such a sucker for a good, well done, polished fit and finish on pretty much any blade, on my swords, on my knives, on my kukris. I mean, this is such a clean, quality looking piece from K-Bar. This collaboration with the signature on blade itself, it reminds you of like kind of the May signature that you find on the tang of a Nakago, the Nakago tang of a katana. Just gives you that pride in the craftsmanship of the piece. But this is by all means just a beautiful piece to look at. It doesn't just look good, it actually really does perform. While using this kukri, I really tried to throw as much as I can at this thing just to test the overall construction of the piece, everything from the tang all the way up to the edge and the point. I wanted to see how strong this thing was built. But more importantly, it is a weapon. This was the weapon of the Gurkha, one of the world's greatest armies. You can feel it in your hand what a devastating, light, nimble, and effective weapon this must have been. I won't call this like a penetration or stabbing weapon. I just found it a lot of fun to kind of stab this carpet with it. It just everything about using this knife was just a lot of fun. Chopping some wood, obviously it is a chopper. Not a lot of meat behind the edge, but it definitely handles a lot more than its weight would suggest. Now, the genius behind the geometric of this weapon is the fact that every portion of the blade has a different purpose. From the point and that round swelled front of the blade is almost leveled with the guard or the handle, which means that is the chopping section of the blade, and it actually, since it is so swelled and it's level with the handle, it'll assist you in doing all the chopping for you. Then when it curves on the inside closer to the guard, that is the section where you can actually cut and kindle wood with it. So it would make it for a great bushcrafting type of knife. The angled into the handle just makes for the whole geometric that will work in conjunction with your hand in terms of the cutting, chopping, and slashing. Truly a genius weapon. Gravity drop after gravity drop, hard throw after hard throw. I could feel how balanced this weapon actually is. I feel like this is actually something you could just throw at like a spear at someone. Not like I would, but it's a really balanced weapon. Now here I started in my steel outdoor studio. Now, yes, the Kukri, as I said, is an official Nepalese weapon. It's the official weapon of the Gurkha. It's not only a weapon, guys, it was also their utility knife. And today, obviously being a great historical piece, that's exactly what it is. It's a utility tool. Now, in the hands of a really good bushcrafter, using every portion of this blade from the hilt all the way up to the point, this can be a very efficient camp tool, a great outdoor knife, a great self-defense knife against the wild animals, and something that basically will be your best friend at camp. Just look at some of the best bushcrafters out there, like Blackie Thomas, sees the Kukri as one of the best tools he can use out in the camp. And we'll see a lot more of that on this channel and on Scab's channel as well. So you can see I'm trying to throw as much as I can at it, trying to process as much wood as I can. And you can see also here, I'm trying to double grip this knife. There's so many ways you can hold this knife and use this knife to make the knife work for you more than any other design out there. And like I said, in the hands of a professional, an outdoor professional, this thing would definitely shine. Now you can see chopping with this tool, I'm trying to make the knife do the work for me. I admit, there was some deflections here and there, which I'll tell you some caveats as far as how great this design was, of some things that can be changed later on. But I think it was more me, the user, more than the blade itself. But there are some things that can be changed. But other than that, this thing is a great chopper. The Kukri, in its nature, is a wonderful chopper. The front end of the swelled blade assists you in doing so much of the chopping work. So you really have to flick the wrist when you swing a Kukri and let the knife do its job. And it's just, it pulverizes wood, it pulverizes whatever's in front of you if you're able to swing and use the knife right. I think K-Ball does a great job with their 1095 Cro-Van steel and their heat tempering to know that it can handle whatever I throw at it with no problem. So I'm back on my nature run here, trying to basically find whatever I can out in the wild to see what I can throw at it to demonstrate the usefulness, the comfort of the knife in terms of use, and how well and efficient of a cutter it is. So basically, let's just see the knife work. Clearing up shrubbery here. I want to show you how nicely fluid it handles itself in the hand. The Kukri design, if used right and if handled right, it takes a little practice to use that flick of the wrist, but if you learn how to make the knife work, the knife can really sing in your hand and it really does feel like an extension of your wrist when you use the knife the right way. It is just a pleasure to clear brush, to use it outdoors, and the amazing thing is it wasn't originally made to be that way. Here's my little snack break. Of course, you got to have a snack break between a nice cutting session. Enjoying the weather out there. And of course, sporting here, my number 2 New York Yankees cap. Derek Jeter, the Hall of Famer, one of the best players in the world. And I wouldn't say arguably, he's one of the best, for sure. So have you guys made a decision? Do you think this is the best or one of the best American-made Kukris outside of Nepal? Haven't yet? Well, let's keep on cutting. Now, the materials that I'm choosing outdoor with this outdoor cutting here on the trail. I'm really trying to get some of the hardest pieces of wood. Really, that's pretty much what's out there, is some really dried up hard pieces of wood there. And I gotta tell you, even though being under 2 pounds at about 1.4 pounds and having a thickness of the stock at 0.1875 inches thick, it still handles itself pretty well on hard materials. Balance is excellent. As you can see, how it goes around on the wrist is excellent. It's just a matter of really having great edge alignment, like with any tool or any weapon, sword, knife, or anything like that. Having a good point of attack, having a good edge alignment, and really trying to let the kukri do its job, having that swell or the curvature of the blade, having its do its job for you. And if you basically do that, you'll have less deflection and a really good cutting session after cutting session with this kukri, because that's pretty much what it's made to be. A well-balanced weapon, a well-balanced tool, something great for self-defense, and an amazing outdoor utility weapon. If it's handled right, and if your edge alignment is there, like I said, less deflection and great work. So hitting back onto the trails on the way back, I actually found one of my old friends that I wanted to kind of sample the kukri's ability in cutting. And that was those pesky tree choking vines, okay, that you'll find in your outdoor adventures. So I wanted to kind of really see how this kukri handled the vine cutting. Now this is a pretty thick piece of vine. It's about 3 inches in diameter, and after all the cutting session, and this is at the end of a day and a half of cutting with this thing, it still had great edge retention, and it still basically was able to get through the materials. And I felt at this point even more comfortable holding it, because I get with any tool, the more you use it, the more you're comfortable with how it performs, and this thing did a really great job. Now, you must have thought I wasn't going to baton with this kukri. The kukri is probably one of the best things that you can use to baton with to process wood. Now, I know there's an opinion about batoning out there, if you should baton, if you shouldn't baton. Me personally, I baton when I can with a knife that can handle it. I often baton with the knife and use the smaller pieces of wood to do more wood testing. Or if I just have to break up wood for a fire, batoning is a great way to go, especially when you don't have a axe handy. And this kukri is a great test with batoning, with anything with batoning, because you're putting a lot of pressure on the construction of the knife, on the tang, on the handle. You want to see if there's anything that's going to loosen up, if the pivot screws are going to loosen up, if putting that much pressure on the point. And the point was absolutely fine. The edge was absolutely fine. No bending, no chips or anything like that. Like I said before, perfect confidence in this Cro-Van steel from K-Bar. They do a really great job with it. Batoning with a kukri is one of the other great things that a kukri does really well. And this particular kukri, pounding it into the wood, did really well. No damage, no anything. It just performed. Solid edge retention. After all the cutting, still a slicing good edge. With a little honing, would be right back to form. The Reinhardt Becker collab with K-Bar. Is this the greatest kukri made in America? Now, you can see I'm all American flagged out, because you know what? I like to see American companies really perform with their knives, to see them perform, to see them basically live up to the expectations of a good quality, warranty-backed American product. And this is definitely no exception. K-Bar with the collab did an amazing job with their steel, with the heat tempering, with the durability. I don't like to use the phrase the best. It's hard for me to say the best because I haven't physically had my hands on all the American-made kukris out there, so I can't render an actual opinion. I've seen a lot of the kukris out there. I'm also looking to get my hands on the Spartan kukri, which is a Harzi Spartan kukri that's collabed also with K-Bar, to see how that compares, because that's also an amazingly looking, amazingly performing kukri. So it's hard for me to say this is the best. This can be put into the argument as being one of the best kukris made on American soil. What can make this better? That's the question. I personally think from the first thing that they start with as far as the presentation is the nylon sheath. Now, this by no means is a machete. This should not be considered a machete. This is definitely a hardcore kukri, but the sheath makes it look like a machete. What I would like, if they're going to be doing any future renditions of it, maybe come out with like a Kydex sheath or something like that, or something that just fits the whole presentation of the kukri a little bit better. It does its job. It's a great fit. It does its job to protect it and all that, and carrying it a little high, but it carries it well. But a different option just to go coincide with the whole feel of this kukri. I know it would make it a little bit more expensive, but I think people will pay for that extra presentation. For if there are future renditions of this item, that would be something I would change. As far as the knife itself, given that the spine is definitely no slouch and it handles a lot more than it's supposed to be handling, what I would say, if you have a thicker stock for future renditions, rather, it would be even more of a hard hitter and more in contention with the hard-hitting kukris that are made overseas. But I think for what this is worth and how this is made and the price, I think this performs well above its pay scale, well above its size, given the thickness of the spine, which is no slouch, but a little bit thicker. I think it would be even more of a hard hitter. In addition to the thickness of the spine, and also maybe a beefier handle, and maybe go with a different type of material. This is called the Ultramid material. It's like kind of like a G10, like a man-made type of thing. But if you went with like maybe a G10, a grippier G10, and maybe a micarta, which is available, you can also upgrade to the Becker style G10 and micarta version. So they have it out there. It's just more expensive. It would make the knife more expensive, but maybe include a G10 right off the bat. Maybe a beefier handle. Keep that Becker size, but maybe a beefier handle. Considering having a more purchase on the handle, a beefier handle to hold, and thicker spine, you would have absolutely no deflection on this item. Now, the deflection, I think, is in my part maybe from fatigue or not having good edge alignment, but if you basically improve the thickness of the spine and maybe a beefier handle, you would see no deflection whatsoever, and would really compete closely with whatever they can do overseas in the kukri on American soil. But guys, by all means, this thing performed extremely well. This thing does everything a kukri is supposed to do and more. It handles more than its weight. It is just a fantastic item. I really enjoyed using this kukri, and I would honestly say, without even having the other ones in hand and seeing what's out there, I would say this has got to be in the conversation as some of the best, one of the best made kukris on American soil that can compete with the kukris of Nepal. I think this is a great buy. You can get this outside of K-Bar's site, shop around. I've seen it for like $176 at the time of this video. It's definitely a bang for the buck, great price for a very good, high quality American K-Bar product in this kukri. And once again, another great quality product that K-Bar is producing these days. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, a subscription would always help out this channel, help us grow, and help us get you more materials, get you more samples, get you more of the videos that you love to watch on my channel. Much appreciated, guys. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. See you in the next Sword and Knife review. Ciao.